you know, we had a chat beforehand, you know, you were saying how hard it was to even just talk about, you know, certain things that were going on in your culture, obviously, you know, whatever was going on, and they can become really, you know, difficult conversations to even have in the public domain, so to speak. It can be very difficult to have those conversations because A, you don't want to upset anyone, but B, at the same time, you've got a voice that's like going, I just want out. Because otherwise you keep your voice inside, and we both know what happens when you keep your voice inside. It the power of it stays in, doesn't it? And the power can't actually subside until it's let out. So I feel like, you know, this amazing work that you've done, the award, the fellowship, and published author.
Oh, published author. Oh, you know what? Okay, before I go on to the books, can I just mention again this, because we were saying about the child, the inner child. But by the way, I do a lot of work with the inner child for my clients. You know, I do a lot of inner child work. But when I was, again, this is going back to middle school, and this is like another block. Now, I was the oldest girl in the household, and my parents both worked. My mum had to work as well. And so a lot of burden was placed on me in terms of doing the domesticated household chores. And I had younger siblings to look after as well. So when I came from school, it was like all go, there was a lot of work to do. And when I was in the last year of middle school, we had to do a book review. And I started reading the book. It was on Kes, a little boy who was very lonely and isolated, people that have read the book. And it really touched me deeply, you know, it really spoke to my heart. And I was so touched reading this book. And really felt like I connected with the character, Kes.
Yeah. And
so, but there wasn't any time for me to do the book review. My homework was often overlooked because of lack of time. I really wanted to do this book review, and because I felt passionate, you know, after having read the book. So what I used to do was, after all my household chores, when everybody had gone to bed at night, I would put on the lamp by my bed, and I would look into the light and I would write. So can you see where everything's blocking me, I'm finding a way of getting this book.
Yeah. Wow.
So I would write this book review, and then we had a deadline, you know, had to get it in by. And I remember the night before, I stayed up for hours, didn't have much sleep because it had to be in the next day. And I handed it in. And again, oh wow, Trina, I won, you know, the award, the recognition for this book review. I wasn't expecting it at all. And, you know, it was like I had to go on stage to get the certificate for my award for this book review that I did. And that was the end of that story until I was a teenager. Then I wanted to do, because I always wanted to do writing. Then I was a teenager and I embarked on this homeschool writing course, which I was enjoying. But then my dad said I had to get married. So this course just went out of the window.
Oh my gosh.
Halfway through. It was halfway through, and then I had to leave the rest of it. So I didn't complete it. But then my life turned around into other ways. And I experienced so much else. Now I feel like I've come around full circle, and life has brought me back to my writing.
This is beautiful.
A few years ago, before I went to Bali, I saw somebody asking to participate in a co-author book called Our Infinite Power to Heal. And I wrote my chapter in there called Through the Flame. Again, you know, the light. Through the flame.
Yeah.
So this was 2017, and then last year I was also involved in a co-author book with you, with Voices of Hope, and which was published by the lovely Brenda Dempsey. So we were together in that book, and so that was my second co-author book. I've just completed a chapter for another co-author book on rebirth, going through a rebirth, which is where I'm at. So I've just completed that chapter. It's my third, that will be my third co-author book.
Wow.
With Sandra. But now I'm also writing my own book called Unblock and Grow, because that's what I've had to do in my life. I've had to unblock in order for me to grow. So this is going to be very much based around my life. It's going to be like a little bit like my life, like memoirs, but also tips of how I did it, so how I can help other people.
Beautiful. Love
so
it.
this is, and I'm so excited about doing this book. I've written several pieces already.
Yay.
Thank you. I hope to get the writing done by the end of this year and get it published maybe by spring next year. If time permits, I'll get it done a lot sooner, because I have got all this other work that I do. Recently I went to record 4 sessions for an Asian TV channel, and they're going to be aired soon, which, they haven't been aired yet, but 4 sessions I recorded. One was on hypnotherapy, one was on counselling, one was on the chakras, one was on yoga, because that's the other thing I do.
That's amazing. Because the thing is, right, because obviously, to get you on here, I know you were really busy as well, and we had to kind of sort through different dates and stuff, because obviously, you're on a TV show and everything, studying as well, doing loads of stuff. No, so it was really difficult to kind of get you pinned down to actually talk to you about the not just the wonderful work that you do, but also about unblocking. I mean, you mentioned that you were just about to study, and then your dad arranged for you to get married. So what happened there?
Right. Well, the first time, Trina, this I haven't really shared much with people. It's been like a closed door for a long time because of the pain and trauma. But I actually went through 2 marriages. The first one was a forced marriage, which my uncle was behind very much, because he knew the boy that he came and talked to my father about, and said, get her married to him. And then they just all the men got together. I didn't have a say in it. I wanted to study, but I wasn't allowed. It was no, you have to get married. I wasn't allowed. I didn't have a say. The men just took the decisions, and there I was, suddenly married. And then I went through an awful journey, because I used to spend most of my time sitting in my mother-in-law's bedroom, where she would get me to stitch, home stitching, day in, day out, day in, day out. I became very depressed, and I lost so much weight because my life became meaningless. It was just what did I have to look forward to every day? To sit at a sewing machine, just sewing, stitching dresses, and she would control everything, receiving the money, how many dresses I sewed per day, the control. It was, and then on top of that, I would have to cook the dinners, clean the house. I was like a servitude slave, for that whole year. For that whole year, I was this servitude slave. And I started to get ill towards the end. And then also what happened was, for a whole year, I didn't speak. My voice was shut down. I wasn't allowed to speak. A couple of times when I tried to say something, the mother-in-law would say, daughter-in-laws don't speak. Daughter-in-laws don't speak.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She was, my voice was, my lips were sealed, because for a whole year I had no voice, nothing. It was, I ended up having, that disorder, is selective mutism. I had that, So
wow.
I was just treated like an object. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. That's all it was. And it was just like maybe fate, you want to call it fate, the universe. One day, you know, the guy who used to bring the clothes round, he had a fire in his warehouse and lost 2 children in the fire, and said he wasn't going to be allowed to bring the clothes round. And the same day, I had seen the paper that very morning as well, and I said to him, I saw the paper and I'm really sorry, I really understand. And yet when the, you know, when the guy who I was married to came home and looked around and said, oh, why isn't she sewing today? The mother-in-law tried to make a story to say, I sent him away because I didn't want to sew. You know, that really, that was like a knife hitting my heart, because I thought to myself, the guy's lost 2 children. How could you say that? And at that point, it was like my voice just rose and came out. And I said to her, I said, the guy's lost his children. How could you say that? And because I spoke, the guy I was married to turned around and said to me, how dare you open your mouth to my mother like that? And he started,
oh my gosh, I can feel it.
He beat me up badly. He physically threw me from room to room. And then his brother, because everybody was coming home from work at that time, his brother, who younger than him, just walked in on it. And he was shocked, you know, to see that how I was, you know, being beaten up like this. So then he went running up to my uncle's house, who did the, you know, arrange the marriage. And to his surprise, he wasn't expecting my mum and dad to be sitting there. My mum and dad were sitting at my uncle's house because they were going to stay the night there and come and visit me the next day, because they were going to come and say goodbye because they were going to go to India. But when they heard what was happening, they came running to the house and they were shocked. And I was like shaking, you know. They brought me back home. They said, they stuck up for me. They said, no one is going to treat our daughter like this. How dare you beat her up in this way? You know, so yeah, when I came back home, I was ill for a long time. I was fainting all the time. I was really bad. I was self-harming. I just wanted to die, because also community, you know, and this was a new thing in our community. It wasn't the norm. This was a very new thing. Back in the 70s, no woman was getting divorced. This was such a new thing in our community, and everybody was saying, you don't bring daughters back home. Whatever they get, whatever's going to happen to them, it has to happen to them. You don't bring daughters back home.
Really? Oh gosh.
Yeah, so my parents had to put up with a lot of that as well from the community.
So much
but
like
eventually,
judgment and stuff, isn't it?
there was a lot of prejudice, a lot of judgment, and people would look at me like, or you know, suddenly I had this stigma. People would look at me. It was
shame, isn't it?
Shame to the I brought shame in the community. I was a woman, that something was wrong with me. I had bad karma, all sorts of. I had to listen to so many stories, you know. But it was really a really difficult time. But I moved myself out of it. I did have some support from my siblings at the time. They were horrified and shocked at what I had gone through. They were quite supportive and helped me get back on my feet. I did a home study secretarial diploma, and then I got a job at the council as an admin assistant, and I was there for a very long time. And I carried on doing more studying. And then, you know, started doing other things, and that's when I then started doing that magazine as well. So
gosh. So was the second marriage arranged as well after the first one?
Yeah, the second marriage, well, the first one was forced. There is a difference between forced and arranged.
Okay.
So the first one was forced. The second one, yes, it was arranged. The second one, yes, it was arranged. This one, see, the first one was my uncle was behind it, but the
Yeah.
second one was arranged by my auntie.
Yeah.
She introduced us, and you know what? This guy, I suppose at the time I was naive. My parents didn't force me into this second marriage. They said it was up to me, but I
Yeah.
had a choice, you know. But this guy appeared very modern. He'd been born and brought up in this country, from Birmingham. He appeared very modern, and I thought, wow, we're going to really get on because he's so, you know, modern and liberated and
Yeah.
understanding. But it was all a lie. It was all false and lies that he had painted and the family had painted. And I got, you know, when you suddenly take a decision and then you find yourself trapped.
Yep. Yeah.
It was like out of the facts and into the frying pan.
Yeah.
I was suddenly trapped in this marriage. Now the thing is, this time the guilt and shame was worse because people were saying, you can't leave now because it's the second time. People are going to
Yeah.
definitely say it's your fault, your fault, your fault. Everybody was saying, stay put. But he was womanizing. He was seeing different women. He was not working. Everything he told me was a lie to get me into the marriage. It was
Yeah.
all lies. And I couldn't see past those lies initially until I was in the situation, and then it was horrible what I was going through, you know, and what he was putting me through, all this psychological abuse. This time round, it was real deep psychological abuse.
Yeah.
Everything.
So it's more emotional then this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
He was just not, once, and then I fell pregnant, and once I was, you know, one of his ex-girlfriends came back on the scene, and once she was on the scene, back into his life, he didn't want to know me. It was like he just wanted me out of the way, and yet I was stuck. You know, I can't leave because of the culture, the families, what's everybody going to say? And this time nobody was helping me. The first time my parents helped me. The second time they did help me with money, but they weren't going to help me with telling me to leave.
Yeah.
In fact, this time they were trying to tell me stay put. People are talking.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know, I was being destroyed because, again, I was just there as a skivvy to look after his family while he did what he wanted to do. Now, I think he thought, because I had been married before, he thought I would stay put and just put up with all the crap that they were giving me.
Yeah.
He thought I wouldn't have the strength or the guts to do anything, right? So for a long time, I just carried on, and things were just getting worse and worse, and I was becoming, you know, more and more down.
Yeah.
My parents were helping me out with bits and pieces like food and money, and he had spent all my savings, ran up my credit cards, and then I thought to myself, I've got nothing left. What am I going to live on? How am I going to survive? How am I going to look after my son? We had no food in the house, you know, no money, no food. And you know, I was, you know, in tears. He didn't want to know. So, you know, one day my father-in-law was going to come and visit my father.
Yeah.
I had to pretend as a way of getting out. I had to pretend with my father-in-law, oh yeah, let me come with you. I'll visit my family as well. And then I had to pretend to him, I want, you know, because it was my way of getting out. And then I had to pretend to him when I said, oh, because he said, are you going to come back with me? And I said, no, you go and I'll come back, you know, a couple of weeks. I just need a break. And so then, you know, I stayed at my parents' house because then I had to plan this slowly of getting out bit by bit. So I was at my parents' house, and then I got a job, and I said to them, I just needed some money temporarily. I'll just get a job. You look after my son. So they did look after my son, and I got a job at the pizza factory because I had to get something just quickly. Just went into a factory, and, you know, started working to get some money in so I could buy some clothes and food for my son and me.
Yeah.
So then I knew that there was no going back. And he wasn't in touch with me either. 2 years went by. He didn't even
2 years?
bother to. 2 years went by. He didn't even bother to contact us. He didn't even know his son. Yeah. So
wow, that's shocking.
I know. Then I moved out of my parents' house, and then I filed for divorce. That's when it hit my parents. That's when it hit them. That when I moved out and I filed for divorce, they didn't know I filed for divorce. One of my uncles came and told them. He found out and he came and told my parents. And they were shocked. And my dad, I think because of his own pain, yet again, here I am. And also the pain he's been through with his other daughters. How much can a person take? I think his way of coping was, okay, do what you want to do. You're not welcome here anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it broke our relationship. We didn't speak for a long time. I was on my own, struggling with this little baby. You know, what was I supposed to do? How could I go to work and look after my son? I had to work around ways of making things happen. It was very hard, very difficult. And the isolation grew because it was just me and my son. No friends, no contact with anybody. Nobody wanted to know me anymore because here I am, second time round, divorcee, must be all my fault. I'm not listening to the culture, the community or anybody.
Yeah.
And suddenly all doors closed on me.
Wow. Because this happens to so many women.
Sorry? Yeah,
this
it happens to
so many women. You know, women are going to be listening to this because these are the fears, aren't they, that women are going to be thinking about. You know, if they're in a situation at this moment in time where they're in, you know, they're being blocked, they're in a relationship, they may be in a marriage, you know, they're obviously in a marriage, but they're in, you know, they're obviously working for themselves as well. They still may be stuck in that kind of relationship. There's a lot of shame and that's a really strong emotion as well. Really strong emotion. Really
shame, shame, guilt. You know, the judgments. And then you feel like you really do feel like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know, I did feel like it's happened to me second time. What's wrong with me? Why can't I be normal like the rest of the people? Why are all the other women successful in their marriages? Why is everybody in a happy marriage and with children and everything's hunky-dory? Why can't I be like that? Then, you know, I went through all this and then I was taking it out on myself and bringing myself down, and I became very suicidal.
Wow.
Very suicidal.
So, because it sounds like you hit like rock bottom type thing, so to speak. So how did you rise on up from that? Because, you know, there are going to be women out there who are going to go, oh, well, I don't want to go through all that kind of stuff. But you've obviously come out of that, like the phoenix in the flames type thing.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, because
I hit rock bottom. You know, when you hit rock bottom, you know, if you look at the words, you hit rock bottom, you can't go any further.
Can only go.
So you can only go up. When I hit rock bottom and I was feeling really suicidal, and I was making so many plans of how I was going to do this suicide, and I was, you know, but I had this baby and I was angry, like with God, you know, if my life was going to be like this, then why did I have to have a baby? Why did you give me a baby? It was like God's fault that I had this baby. And then I was saying, like, I could have just taken my life. It would have been so easy. But obviously, looking back, that's why I had the baby. So I didn't take my life, you know, because he came as a light to save me, you know.
Yeah.
He came just in time to save me, to keep me alive. But I didn't at the time, it was hard for me to accept that because of the pain I was going through. In fact, I was planning to take his life with me. That's how bad it was, the suicide.
Wow.
That's how bad and deep it was. But then I thought to myself, I can't do that to him. That's bad karma on me. I'm already suffering. I can't create more bad karma. I can't do that to him. And I can't really do it to me, because my mum did used to come and visit me, and she did used to say to me, you know, she sort of secretly came because she wasn't allowed to. So, you know, because she was told that everybody has to. So my mum was there for me. My mum, every time she could, came to see me. And she, you know, saw the state I was in, and she said to me, like, you know, nothing stays bad forever.
So
Bad
true.
times come and they will go. She said, they will go. They're not going to stay here forever. She said, this happens in life. We have good times and we have bad times, and we have times when you really hit rock bottom. And she said, you will go through this. So then there was a part of me saying, I can't do it to my mum as well. I can't do it to my son. And so, but I was having these conversations with God. And, you know, I was in so much pain. I was hitting my head on the floor. I was like literally in a surrender position, bowing down to God, talking to God, hitting my forehead against the floor in that surrender. And I said to God, okay, I'm yours. I'm all yours. Tell me what to do. I'm going to follow you now, the way you want it. The way you tell me to go, I'm going to do that. I surrender to you. My life is in your hands now, but just help me. I don't want to feel this pain. And, you know, that night, Trina, and this always brings back tears because it was really deep and emotional.
Yeah.
And it was like, it really was a big thing at that time. And that night I had an extremely deep emotional, mystical experience, because I was in so much pain on all levels, and I just wanted to die. But a part of me did die. A part of me did die because I kind of like did feel that that's what was happening, that part of me was dying. And, you know, and when that part of me was dying and I was surrendering to God, I felt the whole room filled with this white light. All I could see was white light. And all of a sudden, my pain was just taken away from me. And I felt this hand touch my shoulder, and I heard this poem in my ear. It was the Footsteps poem. I'd never heard of it before. And then I saw Jesus there. I saw Jesus there. And he said to me, the Footsteps poem, and he said, like, now you've tasted this depth of pain, you're going to go out and help other people with their pain. And at that moment, I didn't know what that meant or what he was talking about. But, you know, all I could understand was this white light was healing me and taking my pain away. And I was being comforted. I really felt like I was being held.
Wow.
For the first time ever in my life, I really felt like something somehow was holding me.
Safe.
On a spiritual level. And yeah, so what you see, leading up to that, what I used to do was I used to sit with a candlelight, and I used to, you know, I used to meditate, looking into that, talking to God through that. And this is why my first book was called Through the Flame, because I talk about this in there as well. So then, you know, like, because I had surrendered to God and I said, like, I'm going to just follow you. You show me the way, take this pain away. And God did take that pain away. The next day, I woke up feeling so different. And it was like that old part of me did die. And, you know, like right at the beginning, you said, like the phoenix rising out of the ashes. That's what happened to me that night. And then the next day, where I used to live, we had this secondhand shop there, and I used to, you know, take my son for a walk down the river, and sometimes I'd go into that secondhand shop just to browse around, and it was something to do on the way because they used to have lovely antiques in there. As soon as I walked in, I saw this glass plaque with the Footsteps poem on it. And when I saw it,
No.
again, it made me so emotional, I just burst out crying because of that emotion from my heart.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you know, I began to feel my heart was beginning to open.
Yeah.
And the woman who was running the shop at that time, she walked over to me and she looked at the flag. She picked it up and she gave it to me in my hand and she said, take it, it's yours. She said, I can see it means something to you. She said, I want you to have it. And I said to her, let me pay for it. She said, no, it's a gift. I want you to have it. And so I took it home. I still have it to this day. And I look at it regularly when I'm feeling a bit down. I need that connection. I connect to it. It's so powerful. And, you know, my life then began to synchronize the events. You know, I was led to do the counselling training, psychotherapy training, all the trainings, one after the other. And he was right when he said, you're going to listen to a lot of women's pain, because straight after, you know, like, even while I was doing the counselling training, because you have to have a placement, I was given a placement at the mental health service at the hospital. And all these women started coming to me, clients who I was counselling, listening to their mental health problems and pain, you know, pain. And then I was, I landed this long-term work with this women's centre in Luton, where I did loads of counselling for many years with women all across the board, lots of Asian women as well, talking about deep pain, immense pain on all levels, psychological pain, emotional pain.
So what you were meant to do.
Yeah.
What you were meant to do. Because we're going to have to wrap it up in a second. But
yeah, just want to sort of bring it to a close to say that I'm in a transition now, because it was to do with the writing. I'm in a transition now. I'm still going to talk about the healing for people through the writing now. That's my next step.
Oh my gosh. Because, you know, like just listening to this and then, and obviously it's going to transition into, you know, the writing. You've actually gone through that pain to come out and help other women through pain, help them recognize fear, you know, for one, and through your story of that pain that you went through will hopefully enable women to see it's not, you know, obviously you went through some tough times and you hit rock bottom, but you saw the light and you came back up again. And obviously I know there's a lot of people who may watch this and may not believe in God, so for instance, but they may believe in the universe or, you know, or someone else, that there's something else. And there is truly something else, that's for sure. You know, and you may have that moment where you do hit that rock bottom and you hear something. You know, I've heard something when I hit rock bottom as well. So it's not uncommon to, you know, and it's not a scary thing to hear something when you hit rock bottom, say, you know, I just don't want you to do that. No, don't do it. Or something like that, because it's trying to show you that you are worth a load more than what you ever thought that you were. And I just want to thank you for having you here. Where can we find you? Where can we find you?
Right, okay. Well, you can find me on Facebook, Jaswinder Chally. You can find me on my Instagram, Jazaro, Transpersonal Akash. You could also find me on my website, Transpersonal Akash, which is my business name. So I am quite visible. I am around. I'm with obviously the Hypnotherapy Society membership, because I'm on their site where people look me up for hypnotherapy treatments, etc. Yeah, so I am around. I am easily find, you know, I'm easy to find. My name, you can just Google my name, Jaswinder Chally. Lots of things will come up. Just before we finish, I do want to say one thing, because I can't miss this out, because it was really powerful in terms of when that mystical experience happened.
Please
because
share.
it might help people, because what
Yeah.
I was doing was I was sitting with this mudra, and I was on the ground in the surrender pose, yeah?
Yes.
And I was chanting. So any chant from any, religion or culture is fine, but there is a chanting that helps you connect to deeper brainwaves. And I was chanting because I was brought up with the Sikh mantra of Vaheguru, and I was chanting Vaheguru at a very rapid level because of the pain I was in. It was like I had to stay above it. I was going down and under, and I was repetitively chanting this mantra, Vaheguru. Now, the thumb and the index finger, you see, this is called the Gyan Mudra because it helps to connect to our brain, and it brings that sense of, that's why this is the mudra when you see lots of people meditating, because it connects the mind body together, and it helps to bring, it helps to bring a sense of peace. So I had this mudra when I was in that surrender position, and I was repetitively chanting Vaheguru at such a deep, fast level. I was going Vaheguru, 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 constantly, on top of, in between, talking to God. And that's when I had that mystical experience.
That's beautiful. And funnily enough, you mentioned this mudra, is that one day, I can't remember what exactly happened, but those words came into my head. And I didn't realise I didn't realise exactly what it was, but I needed to do that day.
Yeah.
And so obviously you use Google, don't you, to find out what's that. And then I was led to this. So it's quite and
all it means, and the chant, the Vaheguru, what it actually means is you are your own teacher. I was accessing my own brain to come out to help me be my own teacher.
Yes, you have all the answers.
Exactly.
That's the one. You have all the answers. We're seeking them from everyone and everywhere else, but we have them all. And that's where, say like people like you or I come in to help people, open up to those answers, isn't it? It's beautiful. And you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. I'm going to post some links above as well to make sure everyone can find Jaswinder and her amazing work, because you do need to be following her. And if any of this resonates with you in any way, please do seek her out. And if there's anything like deep, really some tough stuff going on, please do seek out. I mean, obviously there's going to be places, isn't there, where people can seek out refuge and places like that where you can get some safety. I think that's the main thing, isn't it, to begin with, some safety for you and your family. So I want to thank you very, very much for being here.
Trina, I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It's been amazing talking to you. You're lovely as always. It's helped me to express my voice and share my story with a view to helping, anyone that it can reach out and help. So thank you so much.
Yeah, because we just want to be here and just keep reaching out and helping as many people as we possibly can. We know that lockdown, especially this pandemic time, is going to be quite difficult for many people because they're in they're having to live in the same place with whoever they're living with over a 24 period every single day. But having these conversations just helps massively. Thank you.